In this video, we learn how to do our tallies or counts, calculations, and diagramming for the tension flow rhythms. So in your manual, please turn to the page that has a blank copy. And what you're going to do is you're going to make a photocopy of this blank page that you will write on. And that is one of the pages that you will turn in for your assignment. So remember, we said that you will probably want to get your own sheet of paper in order to do the tallies, because we will end up counting a fair amount of rhythms, and that can get really messy. So what I would encourage you to do is to have all your tallies on one page, and then on your final page that you turn into me, write all of those numbers down in just one clean number. So what you'll do is you will look at your raw data, which, remember, consisted of your rhythms in whatever format they were in. And then below that, you labeled your raw data. So for our purposes, we will write some raw data that we have to work with. Okay, so let's start with these first three mixed rhythms. This one, and this one. So I first start with this OIG and I say, okay, this is a mixed rhythm. And so in order to count it, it needs to go in the mixed column. So the O component will get one tally in the O row of the mixed column, and the IG component will get one tally in the mixed column of the IG row. And that's all I need to say about this OIG. Now, if you'd like, you can put sort of a little check mark there to remember that you did do the markings for that rhythm, just so that if you need to walk away from your paper, you don't lose track of where you were and accidentally mark a mixed rhythm or rhythm twice in here. You can also use a highlighter to just highlight over this to indicate you're done with it. But whatever method you use, feel free to do what works for you so that you can fully keep track of your progress. Okay. So we're done with this one. Now we can move on to this OA. So this OA is a mixed rhythm. So therefore, we're going to put this O and A in this mixed column. So we put one tally in the O, find the A row, and put one tally there. And so now this OA is done. Great, let's move on to this IGOG rhythm. That's also known as the Hershey rhythm, which is that rhythm that mixes the swaying IG with the jumping OG. So again, it's a mixed rhythm, so we're in the mixed column. And the components of this IGOG are one IG, so we go to that IG row, mixed column, and count that. Then we go to the OG row, mixed column, and write that. Great. So let's move forward then. I'm going to move all the way to the end here. So we have what looks to be like a full box, and it looks like one AS. So because we have one AS that's pure, we are going to go over to the pure column, down to the AS row, and write 1 tally for that. So this is the same logic for all of our raw data. So every single thing that we have written down below our tension flow rhythms lines needs to be counted. Remember, all the pure rhythms stay in the pure column. Make sure that you're always keeping a check on that, and all the mixed ones in the mixed column. Now remember, if we had something that looks like this, we can clearly see the almost perfect shape of a box, which looks like the strain-release rhythm. So we know that that strain-release rhythm is containing. So we want to underline it because we're saying it's almost pure. It's almost pure, and it's also containing some things. So what is it containing? Well, this one has a twist. And what should we call this? That looks like a twist. This looks like a twist. That looks like a twist. This looks sort of like a twist. So it turns out that this strain release is containing 5 small a's. So remember, we only write the exponent when that item is part of a mixed rhythm. Okay, is part of a contained mixed rhythm. If we just had something like this, then we would say, okay, these are just 5 A's that happen one right after the other. So we would write them like that. Okay, so this mixed rhythm, however, we'll put a dot in between them to distinguish this one from that one. So how do we tally the ASA5? Well, because we underlined the AS, we're going to give it 1 tally in pure and 1 in mixed, because we want to give it credit for almost being a fully complete strain release. Now the 5 A's inside of that are part of that mixed rhythm, so they go in the mixed component column. So we will do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 A's. Great. And we've said all we can say about this in our tally. Next, we have 5 A's. So since these were 5 pure A's that happened just one right after the other, we will say, okay, in the pure column, we will mark that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 A's happened. So that is how we do our tallying, and we again go through our entire page after page of mixed and pure rhythms and tally them on our what we can call scratch paper. Then we'll get totals here. So count up all of the OS's. So here I had 5, 6, 7, 8, and write it as a whole number. Here I had 3 O's that were pure, and write it as a whole number. Here I had 2 AS's, write that as a whole number. Here I have 5 A's, write that as a whole number. In the mixed column, I had 2 O components. In the AS row, I had 1 AS component. In the A row, I had 6. And look, I've got 2 here. And again, we look across. 1 OG in the mixed component. So you will end up with just the whole numeral for each category. Then you will take these whole numbers and transfer them over to your nice clean page that you have copied. So again, make a photocopy and write each of these numbers in their respective category. And the nice thing is, in our manual, we have a sample already completed for us, so we can follow the logic through someone else's work. So we can say, okay, this person tallied 110 pure biting rhythms, 80 pure sucking, and so on. They tallied 54 biting mixed rhythm components, and so on. So again, take your whole numbers from this sheet and simply transfer them to this nice clean page. And then you have officially completed the top part of the page. So the next thing we do is complete the mixed rhythm matrix on the bottom half of the page. And this mixed rhythm matrix is simply a nice way to show us which mixed rhythms there were and how often they occurred in each developmental phase. So the first thing that we do is we go to our raw data sheet and we start at the beginning to wherever we see our first mixed rhythm. So in this case, we have an OIG. So we want to put this OIG into this matrix. And how do we do that? What we do is we start in this top line and we go to the O. So we start with the horizontal axis, and then we go down, 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 down to the IG, and we write that mixed rhythm in the OIG box. The next step is we look through our entire set of data for all of the OIGs, and we count how many there were. So let's say we went through and we counted 20 OIGs altogether. So we will write the number 20, and what that says is that this person did that OIG rhythm 20 times. Now let's say we had a mixed rhythm that was OIG-OG. So again, we're looking at a mixed rhythm, and we're going to start at the beginning of the mixed rhythm for the matrix. So we go to the O, then we go down to the IG, and then there's this third rhythm, this OG, that's also in the mixture. So we simply tack that on to the end. Okay, so they always start the same, but if there are additional rhythms in that mixed rhythm, we simply just tack them on. And then we do the same thing. We look and say, okay, how many OIG, OG rhythms did I write in my data? 2. So I write the number 2 down here. So let's say you have an AUS. Let's say we found that somewhere. We would go through all of our data and count how many AUSs we have, and we counted 4 of them. So we start developmentally with the horizontal line. So we'd go to the A box, and then we go down to the US box, boop, and we write AUS, and we write it happened 4 times in our data. So what we want to do ultimately is write all of the mixed rhythms in the same suit. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go in each column and count up how many of those mixed rhythms there were. So we'll start with the OS column and say, okay, we're going to add 8 plus 2 plus 3 plus 1 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1 plus 4 plus 12 plus 1 plus 2 plus 2 plus 8 equals 54. So another way to say this is this person had 54 biting rhythm mixtures. So this person used different combinations of biting mixed rhythms. And then we go to the next column. And we simply add up our totals. So 1 plus 5 plus 1 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 7 plus 20 plus 2 plus 12 equals 61. So we write 61. And that means that this person has 61 sucking mixed rhythm combinations. And they have many different ways that they have combined rhythms with the sucking rhythm. We do the same thing for each subsequent column. We simply add the total whole numbers and write that total number in the box, so that ultimately we have a nice clean row of whole numbers. And then once we have our clean row of numbers, we're going to add 54 plus 61 plus 15 plus 11 plus 33 plus 9 plus 7 plus 19 plus 1, and that equals 210 total mixed rhythms. So simply add all these up and you'll come to a total. So this person had 210 total mixed rhythms. And then it's really neat because we have organized these to say, wow, this person used the most rhythms or mixed rhythm combinations in the sucking category, because 61 is the highest number of all these. So we can use this to say, wow, 61 is a high number, 54 is a high number. What else in here is relatively high? 33 is about half of that. So we can say that this person's top rhythms that they tend to mix with most often are the sucking and snapping, biting rhythms. The least often used rhythms in mixing are the OGS, so the spurting ramming, and 7 IGS, surging birthing. And it looks like 9 is just a little bit more than the 7, so we could say, okay, they don't really use the urethral indulging rhythm very often. They don't use the running drifting very often in their mixed rhythms. So this is a neat way of seeing which rhythms people tend to use most often, which ones they are mixing with. Okay, so now once you have this page complete, think of this process as simply transferring this data onto a new and clean page. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to transfer this information at the top onto the next page. And I will stick with the sample so that we have some consistency. So on your sample page, you're going to write down in this box the totals from the previous page. So if we move the camera a bit so you can see, you write the total pure rhythms in the second column. So you write 110 biting rhythms or OS rhythms. There were 80 sucking rhythms, 50 AS strain release rhythms, 45 twisting, and so on. So you will just simply add those numbers from the previous page, and you will do the same thing on the mixed rhythm components side. So, just moving my camera so you can see, on this side you will do the same thing. Just bring the totals from the previous page down to here and place them in this column. Then what we're going to do is add the 2 rhythms from each phase and write the total in the first column of each section. So we add 110 plus 80, and that gives us 190. We add 50 and 45, and that gives us 95. We add 60 and 30, and that gives us 90. You follow the same pattern for the rest of the pure rhythms. Then we come over to the mixed side and do the same thing. Add 54 plus 71, and that equals 125. We add 42 and 26. That equals 68. So continue the same process so that what we're left with is a nice representation showing us how many total times the person used rhythms in each of the phases. So there were 190 oral rhythms, indulging and fighting. There were 95 anal rhythms, indulging and fighting. 90 urethral, 75 intergenital, 57 outer genital, pure rhythms. There were 125 oral mixed rhythms. There were 68 anal mixed rhythms, and so on and so forth. So this is just a nice way to take all of our addition and simplify it. So now we're starting to get clearer on how frequently people use rhythms from each of the 5 developmental years. Okay, so next we're going to go into how to complete these final 2 sections. So we'll pause here and put the camera down. Okay, so next what we need to do is we need to add up all of these numbers in the second column. And when we add 110 plus 80 plus 50 plus 45 plus 60 plus 30 plus 30 plus 45 plus 30 plus 27, it equals 507 total pure rhythms. Then we come over to the second column within the mixed rhythm component section, and we add 54 plus 71 plus 42 plus 26 plus 57 plus 24 plus 23 plus 61 plus 20 plus 70, and we get 448 total mixed components. Now that we have these totals added up, we're going to add them together, and we're going to add 507 plus 448, and that will lead us to 955, and that is the sum of total pure and total mixed components. So now what we do is we also want to fill in the total mixed rhythms, and that was from our previous page, and that was this number 210. So we're just taking all of our hard work we did, reminding ourselves of that, and writing that from our tally sheet right in this line right here. So now all of that's complete, and we can finish with our final 4 columns. So we want to know what percentage of the time the person was using the biting rhythm. And here is how we find that. What we do is we take out our calculator and we take 110 divided by this total number 955. So we take this number, whatever it is, and divide it by this sum total of pure and mixed components number. And so if I take 110 divided by 955, you can see that it gives me 0.115, etc. And so what I do is, in order to get a percentage, I take my decimal point 2 points over. And that gives 11.5. Now, because it's 0.5, mathematically we can round up to the number 12. And we can write in the whole number 12 right here. So it's 12% of the time the person was using biting rhythms. So let's try it with this one. So if we take out our calculator, we do 80 divided by 955. And that leaves us with 0.0837. So we take our decimal point over 1, 2, and then we have an 8.3. Now 0.3 is pretty close to 0, so we don't have to round up, so we can just call that 8%. So any decimal that's 0.5 and above, we can round up. Otherwise, we can just keep the number as it is. We do the same thing for this column. So we take 54 divided by 955, and it probably gives us 0.06 something something. So we take the decimal point over twice and get a whole number of 6, and that is 6%. So again, take all the numbers in this column one at a time, of course, divide by the sum total. That will give you a decimal point. Take the decimal point over twice so that you have a whole number to write in the third column of each side. And finally, to find the plot point, which is what we're really, really excited about, because this is what we'll plot on our diagram, we'll start at the top with this number 12. So we'll take the whole number 12 and we're going to multiply it by 0.2. So all the instructions for how to do these things are also written down here. So in order to find our plot point, we multiply the percentage by 0.2. So if I do 12 times 0.2, I get 2.4, and I write in 2.4. I do 8 times 0.2, and I get 1.6. I do 5 times 0.2 and get 1.0. 5 times 0.2, I get 1.0, or 1. 6 times 0.2 is 1.2, and I do the same all the way down. I come over here, do the same math. I do this whole number times 0.2 to get my plot point number. So 6 times 0.2 is 1.2. 7 times 0.2 is 1.4, and so on and so forth. So now you have completed everything up here. Then, just for repetition's sake, we are going to take the total numbers from our tally sheet, and we're simply going to fill them in down here. They're also up here. So the 190 oral rhythms go here. The 125 mixed oral rhythms go here. The 95 pure strain releases go here. The 68 mixed strain releases go here. So in other words, we're taking the pure totals and putting them developmentally. So here's year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. Then we take the mixed rhythm component totals and put them also in their respective appropriate years. Year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. Then once we've put those in, we add the totals. So 190 plus 125 is 315. 95 plus 68 is 163. Add those, total, add those, total, add those for the total. Then, from our columns, we add all the indulging rhythms together in pure. So add up the pure sucking, twisting, running, drifting, swaying, and jumping to get your total. And add the pure snapping, biting, strain, release, starting, stopping, surging, birthing, and spurting, ramming for a total here. Follows suit with the mixed rhythm components. So add the indulgings together and put them on the top, put them to the left. Add the fighting mixed rhythms together and put them on the right. So now we have a ratio of indulging to fighting, 227 to 280 in pure. And in mixed, we have a ratio of 252 to 196. So it's a nice way to ultimately end up with just a simple representation of how often rhythms are occurring in pure and in mixed, and in what developmental stages. So now let's go to our diagram page. And here is our diagram page. So what you will do is make a photocopy of this page so that you can write in, first of all, in the top box, we simply want a way to have a clean representation of all of our numbers in one location. So in this box, simply take all of these ratios and transfer all of this information, copy it onto, or rather into, this box. So we will be able to see how many total pure and mixed and components, rhythms in total this person used. We will write the ratios for pure, mixed, and total, and we will write the indulging to fighting ratios. Then we will go to our graph and we will plot our points. So for this, to show you, I have drawn a graph so that we can go back and look at how to plot our points. So first what we do is we go to the mixed rhythm side, and we want to plot each of these points on the graph. So we can see that, and you can follow along in your manual. We can see that for the biting rhythm, there were 2.4 boxes. So on the biting rhythm side, the biting rhythm line, we count 1, 2.4 spaces, and we write a dot. Then we go to the sucking rhythm, which has 1.6 plot points. So again, we're in this column and we're looking at the sucking rhythm, which is 1.6. We go to the sucking rhythm, indulging is always on the left, and we count from 0, 1.6 spaces, and we can write that down just so we know, and add a dot. Same thing, so we'll look and see that we have for strain release, for our strain release line, we have exactly 1 space, so we come over 1 box. It's 1.0. For twisting, we also have from 0, 1.0. For starting, stopping, we have 1.2, so we come over 1.2 spaces, 1.2. For running drifting, we have 0.6. So we go over to where about 0.6 is. We just sort of can estimate if it's in between. For IGS, surging birthing, we have 0.6. For IG, we have 1.0. And for the outer genital phase, spurting ramming, we have 0.6. And for jumping, we have 0.6. And so with a ruler or any straight edge, we're going to connect the dots. So connect your dots and see if they match up like this one. And here we have an interesting looking homemade, handmade graph. So finally, we can now have a visual and an image of how frequently or less frequently someone is using each of the patterns and in each of the developmental years of life. So now all that we need to do is plot our mixed rhythms. And the way that we do that is similar, but instead of starting at the 0 point, we use the plot point of the pure rhythms equivalent as our 0 point. So for example, in our chart, we see that the biting rhythm, mixed rhythm component plot point is 1.2. So we go over to the biting pure rhythm plot point, which is 2.4, and we just go over 1.2 spots from that. So we go 1.2. We can also add 1.2 and it comes to 3.6. So that means we are 1, 2, 3.6 places away from 0 is another way to look at it. But we find that point by adding it to our original plot point. Let's do the sucking rhythm. So in the sucking rhythm graph, we have 1.4 as our plot point. So we go to the sucking rhythm point and we go over 1.4 spaces. So we go over 1.4 spaces. Another way to think of this is we add 1.4 to 1.6, and that gives us 3. And that 3 is 1, 2, 3 boxes away from the 0 point. So that's another way to think of it. So we will follow suit for all of the mixed rhythm plot points. And once we have plotted all of our points, remember that we connect the mixed rhythm lines with a dashed line. So again, the pure rhythms are connected with a solid line, and the mixed rhythm points are connected with a dashed line. So take a moment to look at that. And take a moment to celebrate because now we have officially arrived at diagramming the tension flow rhythms. Congratulations!